This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's April 18th, 2025. Good Friday. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
2 dead, 6 wounded, and a surprising suspect in custody at Florida State.
And he's the son of a Leon County sheriff.
I'm Rich Johnson.
President Trump is attacking Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell.
I think he's terrible.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The Prime Minister of Italy has an invitation for President Trump, who reportedly accepts. I'm Clayton Neville.
On Wall Street, it's quiet for this Good Friday holiday. Stocks are coming off a wild week. We'll catch you up on where the markets stand. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
The Trump administration is threatening to revoke Harvard's ability to host international students. Donna Warder, Washington.
Lee Corso's nearly 4-decade run on ESPN's College Game Day is coming to an end. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
All ahead on America in the Morning. 2 people are dead, another 6 hurt when a gunman opened fire on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports authorities were shocked to learn the identity of the suspect, the son of a sheriff's deputy.
Leon County, Florida Sheriff Walter McNeil identified the suspect as 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, who was known to his department because...
And he's the son of a Leon County sheriff deputy.
That deputy, an 18-year veteran of the department, currently works as a school resource officer, whom McNeil called an outstanding deputy.
Our Deputy Eichner, has been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office for over 18 years. She has a tremendous job that she's done. Her service to this community has been exceptional. Unfortunately, her son had access to one of her weapons, and that was one of the weapons that was found at the scene.
Students scattered and hid when the shots began. Junior Mackenzie Heater told NBC she thought the suspect near the student union was targeting someone specific.
But then after he missed that shot, he immediately turned into his car door and grabbed the pistol. And that's when he looked the opposite direction towards the union and shot just some random lady.
Another student, Ryan Cedergren, told ABC that he immediately sought shelter because of what he's known for much of his life.
I grew up in a generation of where school shootings and drills for school shootings are common and normal.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he's praying for the victims and promised,
"This killer must and will be brought to justice to the fullest extent of the law."
At the White House.
Look, I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's, a phrase that's used probably too often.
President Trump briefly commented.
It's a shame. It's a horrible thing. Horrible that things like this take place.
Again, 2 people were killed, at least 6 others wounded, as was the 20-year-old suspect, the son of a county sheriff's deputy, in the late morning shooting Thursday on the campus of Florida State University in Tallahassee. I'm Rich Johnson.
Saying his termination cannot come fast enough, President Trump is hinting at firing the Federal Reserve's chief. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports that the president is showing more frustration with Fed Chair Jerome Powell over interest rates.
President Trump is attacking Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell for not cutting interest rates.
I think he's terrible.
The president nominated Powell in 2017, but now says he's not happy with him, accusing Powell of playing politics by refusing to cut rates, even as European central bankers reduce theirs.
He's playing politics. Interest rates should be down now. They should be coming down. In Europe, as you know, they reduced them I guess 7 times. It looks like they're going to reduce them again and again and again. But our guy wants to play cute. But interest rates are pretty much even. Maybe they went up just a slight bit, but that's the only thing. But that's because of the Federal Reserve, because they're not very smart people.
And says he could fire Powell if he wanted to.
I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. I let him know it, and Oh, if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
Just yesterday,
we're not removable except for cause.
At the Economic Club of Chicago, Powell said the Fed's keeping rates on hold due to uncertainty from the president's tariffs. He fiercely defended the central bank's independence, saying its decisions are solely based on what's best for the nation.
That's the only thing we're ever going to do. We're never going to be influenced by any political pressure. People can say whatever they want. That's fine. That's not a problem. But we will do what we do strictly without consideration of political or any other extraneous factors.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
When we return on America in the Morning, U.S. Senator meets in El Salvador with controversial deportee. After these messages. You're with America in the Morning. Some welcomed warmth headed for areas of the country today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the forecast.
Warmer conditions are expected for the east as high pressure builds northward, with temperatures today reaching 10 to 20 degrees above historical averages for many from eastern Texas and much of Louisiana, north and east through Illinois, most of Pennsylvania, and right through the Virginia coastline. This means widespread 70s and 80s as we head into the holiday weekend with a good deal of sun. For Saturday, similar conditions spread across New England as well, with the warmest air so far this year reaching cities such as Boston that have not yet reached 70 degrees in 2025. By Saturday, Boston should even make a run at 80 degrees. By contrast, a blast of chillier air will dig its way farther southward in the west today, beyond a cold front that brought temperatures in Denver down from 71 to 40 in under 5 hours. This strong front will continue to produce snow from mainly western Colorado into much of Wyoming and southward into central Utah, all areas where at least 1 to 3 inches of snow can be expected through Saturday. Amounts of at least 6 inches are most likely from northwestern and southeastern Wyoming into north central Colorado west of I-25. Farther to the east, wet weather is instead in store from around the Big Bend of Texas into the interior northeast as a storm struggles to push through the east through this weekend. For today, this means a chance for severe thunderstorms with hail, gusty winds, and tornadoes from Texas into far northwestern Ohio through tonight. Rounds of heavy rain should result in at least 1 to 2 inches of rain through Easter from the Dallas Metroplex to Indianapolis. In Milwaukee, today looks cloudy and warmer with increasing winds. Watch for a late day or evening thunderstorm that may be severe with hail and damaging winds, the high 71. For Sacramento, expect sunshine and a high reaching 79 today. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen has met with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the man deported from the United States to a prison in El Salvador. Van Hollen, who represents the state where Garcia was living when he was picked up by ICE agents, traveled to El Salvador Wednesday to push for the release of Garcia after he was not returned to the U.S. despite a Supreme Court ruling that ordered the Trump administration to, quote, facilitate his return. Another member of Congress, Representative Riley Moore of West Virginia, also went to El Salvador and received a tour of the mega prison that now houses Abrego Garcia. Moore told Fox News that after seeing the prison and those jailed there firsthand, he said he's, quote, even more determined to support the president's efforts to secure the homeland, end quote. The Prime Minister of Italy is the first European leader to visit the United States since President Trump announced his sweeping global tariffs. Correspondent Clayton Neville provides an update.
The president has since agreed to a 90-day pause on his tariffs while the U.S. negotiates with much of the world. Thursday in Washington, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni met with President Trump in the Oval Office. She said Italy will have to boost its imports of liquefied natural gas and said that Italian companies would pump billions of dollars into the U.S.
The goal for me is to make the West great again. Okay, and I think we can do it together.
She had an invitation for the president.
My goal would be invite President Trump to pay an official visit to Italy and understand if there's a possibility when he comes to organize also such a meeting with Europe.
President Trump reportedly has agreed to an official visit to Rome and will consider also meeting representatives of the European Union. While he's yet to meet with the European Commission president, Trump insists he is open to a deal. I'm Clayton Neville.
All that glitters is not gold. Business news is next when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. The Friday Report on America in the Morning. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street's quiet this morning. The financial markets are always closed on Good Friday. It's a traditional market holiday. The New York Stock Exchange has been closed on Good Friday for more than 150 years. Many investors grateful to have a break from the Trump tariff turmoil. They're worried, including just regular savers, not just the pros. Investopedia is out with a new survey.
44% say they're extremely worried, but don't know what to do except either wait or try to buy some of their favorite stocks on discount, just getting more and more anxious as we get more and more cloudiness around the policy.
That's Investopedia editor-in-chief Caleb Silver on CNBC. So where are we so far this year for the major averages? We're in the red. The Dow is down 7%. The S&P 500 index down about 10%. The NASDAQ down about 15%. The major averages have been swinging wildly on headlines. Tariffs on, which can hurt business. Tariffs off, which can give them relief. Although, like last weekend, markets can move on any posts from President Trump. So investors are keeping an eye on that. Gold hitting fresh record highs, topping $3,300 an ounce for the first time this past week. One trader said gold's rise may be a warning.
People are starting to figure out you need to be in gold. Central banks over the last 4 years have bought gold in record amount. And we also said that there's going to be a point in time where the dollar starts to fall and yields start to go higher, and people are going to be looking around, scratching their head. Janet Yellen over the weekend was discussing that. These huge dislocations, people are figuring out that gold is the place to be, and it makes a lot of sense to me. This is exactly the environment that gold works, and it's telling a really dangerous story, I think.
Fast Money contributor Guy Adami on CNBC. Many small business owners are at wit's end over the tariffs. Small but growing Pittsburgh-based Day Owl sells trendy, sustainable, high-end backpacks and other gear. Many of its backpacks with the Trump tariffs are now going to cost around $200.
My cost of goods just went up pretty significantly. So it's a question of what we're dealing with in that particular day, and that uncertainty is killing us.
That's Day Owl's Ian Rosenberger on CNBC.
Well, we started in China, and then we eventually moved on from China. We were getting a lot of counterfeit parts of the good, and they were charging us for the counterfeit as if it was real. So we moved to Vietnam, and Vietnam is known the world over as a really great accessories manufacturer. There's a lot of institutional knowledge around it. We looked at Mexico as a backup factory, and we're in that process when the tariffs came into place.
And Rosenberger adds that making backpacks in the U.S. just doesn't make sense. On today's watch list, retailers still want you in stores to shop for Easter. Some offering deals to lure you in. Hollywood wants you in theaters tonight and all weekend. Warner Brothers has high hopes for a third big weekend for the Minecraft movie and for its brand new horror film, Sinners.
Thank you, CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, Trump puts Harvard University on notice after these messages. A federal grand jury in New York Thursday returned a 4-count indictment against Luigi Mangione, the alleged shooter in the murder case of United Healthcare chief Brian Thompson. Mangione is alleged to have stalked and gunned down Thompson outside of the Hilton Hotel in Manhattan near Times Square last December. Mangione's defense is asking a federal judge to throw out the possibility of the death penalty before Mangione is formally indicted. Attorney General Pam Bondi has said she was directing prosecutors to seek the death penalty in the case. An indictment is expected to be announced sometime later today. President Trump is escalating his ongoing battle with Harvard University. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
The Trump administration is threatening to revoke Harvard's ability to host international students. That's about 27% of the campus. The Department of Homeland Security ordered Harvard to turn over detailed records of the illegal and violent activities of its foreign student visa holders by April 30th. And Homeland Security also said it was canceling 2 grants to the school, totaling $2.7 million. On Monday, Harvard became the first university to openly defy the administration's demands related to activism, anti-Semitism, and diversity on campus. And the federal government already has frozen more than $2 billion in grants and contracts to the school. The Trump administration is trying to force compliance with President Donald Trump's political agenda at schools he accuses of pushing woke policies. Donna Warder, Washington.
One of the most beloved figures in college football broadcasting is calling it a career. With a closer look, here's correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh.
Lee Corso's nearly 4-decade run on ESPN's College Game Day is coming to an end. Corso, the longtime ESPN broadcaster and former coach, widely known for his endearing expressions and elaborate headgear picks, is set to retire after a career with the show that began in 1987, ESPN announced. The network said his final broadcast will be August 30th, week 1 of the 2025 college football season. The network added additional programming to celebrate Corso is also planned. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
It's Good Friday, not one of the federal holidays, but it is a public holiday in many states, so there are lots of closures. Good Friday commemorates the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which according to Christian belief is seen as a sacrifice that atones for the sins of humanity. America in the Morning for April 18th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trouts. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
2 dead, 6 wounded, and a surprising suspect in custody at Florida State.
And he's the son of a Leon County sheriff.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Historic school choice legislation passes the Texas State House. I'm Clayton Neville.
The much-anticipated Menendez brothers resentencing hearing is delayed. I'm Steve Futterman in Los Angeles.
The Supreme Court agrees to hear oral arguments in a case involving President Trump's desire to end birthright citizenship. I'm John Stolness in Washington.
Closer to a U.S.-Ukraine mineral deal. And once again, the state of California sues Trump.
A new thriller is in theaters that takes a bite out of the blues. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Let's get a check on conditions to start your Easter weekend. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the forecast.
After severe thunderstorms tore through parts of the upper Midwest on Thursday with strong winds, very large hail, and a number of tornadoes, mainly near the border of Iowa and Nebraska, today brings a much larger zone with the potential for thunderstorms to become rather potent as a disturbance only slowly passes eastward through the plains in the Midwest. The associated cold front will reach a primed air mass where strong southerly winds will readily pull in moisture from the Gulf, resulting in ideal conditions for severe thunderstorms to form from lower Michigan, south and west to around the Big Bend of Texas this afternoon and into tonight. Any thunderstorm may once again produce hail, destructive winds, and tornadoes. However, the flood risk will start to pick up later today as well, with strong high pressure centered not far from Bermuda, backing a bit to the west through the Easter weekend, preventing the eastward progress of this plain storm and forcing the storm track over places from the Dallas area into parts of the Ohio Valley, with rounds of heavy rain and the aforementioned severe weather risk. Through Easter Sunday, rainfall of at least 1 to 2 inches is expected from northeastern Texas to eastern Kansas, central Illinois, and as far east as the southwestern half or so of Indiana, with over 4 inches of rain most likely near and along the Interstate 44 corridor from the Tulsa area toward St. Louis. A push of colder air brings a continuing snowfall event from Wyoming and Utah into the Colorado Rockies through Saturday, with widespread accumulating snow of at least 1 to 3 inches and amounts over a foot at some of the highest peaks in Colorado and southeastern Wyoming. Other than that, the West Coast looks dry today, along with areas from the southeast through the mid-Atlantic where the warmth will start to spread, though showers may reach upstate New York and northern New England by late today. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
You can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. It's 23 till. More's being learned about 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner, the son of a Leon County, Florida sheriff's deputy and the person suspected of opening fire on the campus of Florida State University, killing 2 people and injuring 6 others. Rich Johnson has reaction to the shooting from those on the campus, Florida's governor, and from the White House.
I went to a little cubby space, and then you just look down at your phone, look at the news, and like start to process it. Like, damn, some people just got shot a couple feet away from me.
We closed all the doors to the suite, got my people into a safe room, and then went out and started clearing people out of bathrooms and other rooms to try and get them into a central place.
Students scattered and hid when the shots began. Junior Mackenzie Heater told NBC she thought the suspect near the student union was targeting someone specific.
But then after he missed that shot, he immediately turned into his car door and grabbed the pistol. And that's when he looked the opposite direction towards the union and shot just some random lady.
Another student, Ryan Cedergren, told ABC that he immediately sought shelter because of what he's known for much of his life.
I grew up in a generation of where school shootings and drills for school shootings are common and normal.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he's praying for the victims and promised
this killer must and will be brought to justice to the fullest extent of the law.
At the White House.
Look, I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it. And these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's, a phrase that's used probably too often.
President Trump briefly commented. Again, 2 people were killed, at least 6 others wounded, as was the 20-year-old suspect, the son of a county sheriff's deputy. I'm Rich Johnson.
Also, what is known, one of the weapons used by the school shooter, a handgun, belonged to his mother, a county sheriff's deputy. Is identified as a member of the Leon County, Florida Youth Advisory Council, a citizens advisory branch of the sheriff's office. NBC News reports that Eichner was a student at FSU. Shifting gears, historic school choice legislation is headed to the governor's desk in Texas, and it could have an impact on other states. Correspondent Clayton Neville explains.
Texas lawmakers are moving forward on school choice after proposed school vouchers passed the Texas State House early Thursday morning. The measure will provide taxpayer-funded education savings accounts, which will allow Texas families to use state money to send their kids to private school. The legislation a top priority for Republican state leaders, including Governor Greg Abbott. Before the 85-62 vote in favor of the bill this week, President Trump spoke to Texas lawmakers by speakerphone as Governor Abbott was holding it into a microphone.
So important, even in terms of the Republican Party school choice, for various reasons. But it's one of the most important elements of the Republican Party. It's very interesting.
On the Texas House floor this week, State Rep Brad Buckley argued against critics who say the bill takes money away from public schools.
This bill will not impact our public schools. When you are providing the services and you're meeting the needs of children, we know that parents will stay in their public school.
Democratic State Rep James Tallarico argued Texans should get to decide.
Texans have been fighting about vouchers for 70 years. The first voucher bill was proposed in this Capitol in 1957. And we've been fighting about it ever since. So if any issue should go to the voters, it's this one.
The debate lasted close to 12 hours and went well into Thursday morning.
Is it true that the Legislative Budget Board is forecasting that 65% of the voucher recipients in the first year will be students who are already in private school?
That's the assumption that they're operating under in their analysis.
Under the bill, eligible students could receive up to $10,000 each year if they attend a private school. Disabled students could get up to $30,000 a year, and homeschooled students $2,000. Governor Abbott will sign the legislation when it gets to his desk, and he says the bill creates the largest Day One school choice program in the nation and puts Texas on a pathway to become the best state in America for education. I'm Clayton Neville.
After a dramatic day in a California court, the long-awaited resentencing hearing for the Menendez brothers was delayed. Steve Futterman has details from Los Angeles.
The much-anticipated hearing never took place. The cause of the delay was a risk assessment report by the California Parole Board that hasn't been completely reviewed by all sides. After a great deal of finger-pointing, the judge and the attorneys for the brothers and the district attorney's office agreed it would be best to delay the hearing and allow everyone to look at the report. Attorneys for the brothers want the life in prison without the possibility of parole sentence reduced to either 50 years to life or time served. Defense attorney Mark Garagos claims the brothers' notoriety is hurting them.
There have been at least 10 cases recently where the resentencing takes place and the inmate is released immediately. If it wasn't for all of our accumulated masses here, that's what would have happened in this case. This is a case that cries out after 35 years for a reduction to a manslaughter.
The LA County District Attorney Nathan Hawkman has been firm in his belief that the brothers should remain behind bars.
When they committed the murders themselves, they staged it to look like a brutal mafia killing, shooting their father through the back of the head, their mother who lied dying and bleeding on the ground. They reloaded the shotgun, put it up to her cheek, and pulled the trigger.
The next hearing is set for May 9th. Meanwhile, Governor Gavin Newsom has scheduled a clemency hearing for June 13th. I'm Steve Futterman in Los Angeles.
It's 16 till. When we return on America in the Morning, Monopoly. All fun and games unless you're Google. After these messages. Ukraine issues a statement that Kyiv and Washington have signed a memorandum as an initial step toward clinching an agreement on developing mineral resources in the nation at war with Russia, a deal promoted by President Trump. Reuters confirmed that Ukraine's first deputy prime minister and economy minister wrote on social media that the memorandum had been signed. Trump has pushed for a deal that would allow the United States to have access to Ukraine's natural resources and critical minerals in what he says would be repayment for military aid provided by Washington to Ukraine under former President Joe Biden. The White House confirmed the agreement and said the final details and signing could happen next week. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear oral arguments next month over lower courts' ability to block executive orders. Specifically, the issue surrounds birthright citizenship. John Stolness is following the story from Washington.
The Supreme Court rarely hears oral arguments in May, but is making an exception next month in order to hear arguments over whether lower courts should have the ability to freeze President Trump's executive order on changing birthright citizenship with a nationwide injunction. In the Oval Office yesterday, President Trump optimistic about the upcoming hearing.
I am so happy. I think the case has been so misunderstood.
The 14th Amendment of the Constitution came into being soon after the Civil War, the president arguing it was meant to allow freed slaves to become citizens.
They use it now instead, not for slavery. They use it for people that come into our country and they walk in and all of a sudden they become citizens and they pay a lot of money to different cartels and others.
Immigrants' rights groups and lawyers suing to stop Trump's executive order accuse the administration of trying to upend what has become a common understanding of birthright citizenship. New Jersey Attorney General Matt Platkin led the lawsuit that triggered the injunction, saying back in January,
"When I took the oath to be your Attorney General, I swore that I would uphold the Constitution of this state and of this nation. And when we say we'll defend the rule of law, we mean it."
The focus of the arguments scheduled for May 15th are not about the constitutionality of changing birthright citizenship itself, but rather whether lower courts should be able to issue nationwide injunctions against the president's executive orders while these court cases play out through the system. John Stolness, Washington.
California Governor Gavin Newsom announced his state will sue the Trump administration over the Department of Government Efficiency's cuts to AmeriCorps. The administration has all but cut a handful of senior AmeriCorps employees, the rest placed on leave by DOJ as it makes sweeping cuts in an agency that employs thousands of workers and volunteers across the nation. The lawsuit comes one day after Newsom and State Attorney General Rob Bonta made California the first state to sue Trump over tariffs. America in the Morning continues. Nearly half of Puerto Rico remains in the dark after another island-wide power outage turned the lights out 2 days ago. Correspondent Danica Cotto reports that the island's power infrastructure remains unreliable after Hurricane Maria slammed the Commonwealth back in 2017 as a powerful Category 4 storm.
A massive blackout hit Puerto Rico on Wednesday afternoon. More than 1.4 million clients, the island's entirety, were left without power, and more than 400,000 others were left without water. And people wondered, again? Because the last time there was a massive blackout was just less than 5 months ago on New Year's Eve. A growing number of Puerto Ricans have called on Governor Jennifer Gonzalez to cancel the contracts of Luma Energy, which oversees transmission and distribution on the island, and of Genera PR, which oversees generation. The governor has promised to select a company before summer that would provide 800 megawatts of power. Officials have already warned there's not sufficient generation for summer.
There's Danica Cotto reporting. In tech news, a federal judge has ruled that Alphabet-owned Google created an illegal monopoly controlling a large swath of the online advertising industry, a decision that could upend one of the tech firm's main source of income. More on the story from correspondent Haya Panjwani.
Google has been branded an abusive monopolist by a federal judge for the second time in less than a year. This time, it's for illegally exploiting some of its online marketing technology to help further its profits for an internet empire currently worth almost $2 trillion. The ruling issued by a U.S. district judge in Virginia comes on the heels of a separate decision in August that concluded that Google's namesake search engine has been illegally leveraging its dominance to stifle its competition and innovation. The cases by the U.S. Justice Department are an attempt to undercut the power that Google has grown since it started in a Silicon Valley garage in 1998. I'm Haya Panjwani.
America in the Morning's Robert Workman has a check of Friday sports.
Baseball on Thursday, the Orioles overpowered the Guardians 6-2. Gunnar Henderson hit his first dinger of the year. Ryan O'Hearn and Heston Kjerstad also went deep. O'Neal Cruz's leadoff shot was enough for the Pirates in a 1-0 win over the Nationals. Andrew Heaney and the Meanies with a 5-hitter. A's blanked the White Sox 8-0 behind the 4-hit pitching of J.P. Sears and the Roebucks.
I think it's just been a lot of fun watching our guys swing the bats. We have power obviously, but our power guys are good at hitting singles and taking what they give them to.
Tyler Soderstrom hit his league-leading 9th home run, one of 4 big flies for the Athletics. Mariners rally past the Reds 11-7 in 10 innings. Cal Raleigh and Randy Arozarena hit back-to-back jacks in the 9th to tie it. Then Arozarena tacked on a 2-run double in extras. Phillies tripped the Giants. Christopher Sanchez fanned a dozen in 7 innings. Wins for the Yankees, Rangers, Tigers, Mets, and Diamondbacks. Final night of the NHL regular season, the Penguins doffed the Caps 5-2. Sidney Crosby had a goal and an assist to top the 90-point mark for the 9th time in his 20-year career. Alex Ovechkin scored goal number 897. Pittsburgh coach Mike Sullivan.
They're generational talents, but they're charismatic guys also. They're fierce competitors. I know there's a mutual respect between the two of them, and I believe there's a mutual respect between the two organizations.
The Stanley Cup playoffs began Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 8 first-round series. Same deal in the NBA over the weekend, but first, the play-in round wraps up tonight. The Heat and the Hawks meet in Atlanta. The winner gets the 8th seed in the East. Then the Mavericks and the Grizzlies square off in Memphis for the West 8th seed. That's Friday Sports.
Thank you, sir. When we return on America in the Morning, student revoked visas prompts new lawsuits after these messages. A handful of international students who have had their visas revoked in recent weeks have filed lawsuits against the Trump administration, arguing the government denied them due process when it suddenly took away their permission to be in the U.S. Approximately 900 students at more than 125 colleges and universities have had their visas revoked or their legal status terminated within the past 30 days. Visas can be canceled for a number of reasons, which can include offenses from violent crimes to traffic violations. Attorneys for more than 100 international students in the U.S. whose visas have been revoked asked a federal court Thursday to temporarily block the government from changing their immigration status. Lawyers for the Trump administration argued that granting temporary relief would be harmful to the government's ability to control immigration. Shifting gears, actor Haley Joel Osment is in trouble with the law. The Sixth Sense star was arrested for public intoxication and possession of a controlled substance at a ski resort in California. The New York Post is reporting that Osment hurled slurs at officers as he was being handcuffed and accused police of torturing him. Osment later told the newspaper that he was horrified by his behavior. In theaters this weekend, director Ryan Coogler is trying his hand at horror in his latest film. Kevin Carr has a sneak peek at Sinners.
The director of Black Panther gets out a wooden stake and takes a stab at vampires this weekend.
There are legends of people with the gift of making music so true. It can conjure spirits from the past and the future.
Ryan Coogler directs Sinners, a drama about a pair of criminal twins who return home to the Deep South in the 1930s to start up a juke joint.
Y'all ready to drink? Y'all ready to sweat till y'all stink?
They have to reconcile their past relationships and build a new business with dirty money. Oh, and there's also a bunch of vampires out to get them.
We're gonna kill every last one of you.
At its heart, Sinners is a serious drama about the lives and struggles of Black Americans in the early 20th century. The vampire angle is more secondary, or rather symbolic in many ways.
This world already left you for dead. I can save you from your fate.
You don't need no saving.
Yes, you do.
This leads to a deeper, richer story with complex characters in shades of gray taking a hard look at human struggles. At least until the film goes all from dusk till dawn on the audience.
Listen here. This ain't no house party.
The biggest sin that Sinners commits is its running time. Coogler loves to breathe in his films, but that makes him drag in many points, which happens throughout this movie.
You're gonna bite off more than you can chew.
Still, Coogler delivers a solid film that is impeccably made.
You want some?
Sinners gets 3 blues guitars out of 5. I'm Kevin Carr, and that's the way I see it.
It's Good Friday. The NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange will be closed. Most banks will be open for regular business hours. Some schools are off for the Easter weekend. America in the Morning for April 18th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.